Hey guys, it's me, the Traveler here. So today we're gonna go over 4 short, basic, but important things to do to get ready for your travel nurse assignment. Number 1, licensing. So apply for the license in the state that you want to go to within 1 to 6 months in advance. Normally, I would say it takes about 1 month on average to get licensed places, but there are certain states that it can take you 6 months, 3 months, just extensive. And if anything goes wrong, they may call you and send this back to you, and it becomes a whole back and forth process that can take up to 6 months in all honesty. So apply in advance, also taking into consideration that if you finish an assignment, let's say in New York in August, and you want to go to Arizona next, make sure that you've applied for that Arizona license by June or so before you finish that assignment. That way you can just keep going back to back and not have those gaps in between if that's not what you want. So make sure to apply for those licenses in advance. Also find out if you are a compact state, which I will put a list of compact states here in a moment. But compact states are basically 25 states, and if you have a license in one of those states and that is your permanent residence, so if you live in Tennessee, which Tennessee is a compact state, and that is your permanent residence and you have to prove that it's your permanent residency, you have a license in all 25 of those other states as well. So it's awesome because you don't have to go through the tedious activity of applying for licensing in all those different states. You can literally go from state to state. So check and see if your state's a compact state, and I will put a list of the ones that I do have. Also, there's a walkthrough state. Walkthrough states are pretty much self-explanatory. You literally walk through, get a license, and keep going. Walkthrough states, by definition, they give you a temporary license within 1 hour to 24 hours. Within 1 hour to a day, you get your nursing license in that state. It's a temporary license, and you can use it and work on it until you get your actual permanent license. So they call it a walkthrough because you can literally walk through, get your license, and then go to work. So check and see if your state is a walkthrough state. Those vary, and that list changes. So go ahead and search through your search engine and see if your state that you desire to go to is a walkthrough state, because that will help tremendously. Okay, so also take in mind that many times you will have to do fingerprints or passport pictures or stuff like that to get your license in these states. So your agency may say, well, we will reimburse you your license fee, but then sometimes that's all they reimburse you is the license application fee. So you may pay, let's say, $150 for an application fee. That state may require you to take certain CEUs, they may require fingerprints and things like that, which may come up to another $100. Now your agency may not be actually reimbursing you back the fingerprints and all those other expenses, only the application fee, which a lot of them do that. So if your recruiter does say that they will pay you back the fingerprints and the passport picture and all those other tedious testing stuff, make sure that they write it specifically down in your contract that it says reimbursement for fingerprint, reimbursement for a passport photo. Like, it needs to be written down, because usually in your contract they'll only write, oh, reimbursement for license, and they know what that means. If you didn't watch my previous video on the travel nurse contract, go back and watch that video so that you can know what to look for in your travel nurse contract, but make sure it's literally written plain out. Number 2, physicals and drug screens. So before every assignment, you have to provide a physical and a drug screen. Luckily, your agency will send you out to get a physical, and they'll send you out to get a drug screen. Your physical is good for 1 year, so you can use that same physical on every facility for 1 year. Your drug screen, you have to redo before every single assignment. However, the physical, if you switch agencies, so say you're traveling with agency A, and then on your next assignment, you decide to go with agency B. Well, agency B does not have a copy of that physical. You don't have a copy of that physical either, because the way that the agency does it is they fax it to them, so you never really get your hands on it. Sometimes you do get your hands on it, and if you do get your hands on it, make a copy of it so that you have it for your records, so that you can provide it to your other agency, because agency A, if they paid for you to have that physical, they will not release it to you to take to another agency, because that's their money, they paid for it, and they don't want to give it to you to take to the next agency, which makes sense. But I got messed up with that because I got my tetanus shot, and you know what, the tetanus shots, you only have to get them like every 5 years or so. And I had gotten it with agency A, and then when I left that agency and went over to agency B, I was like, hey, agency A, can I have the records of my tetanus shot, please? Because like this other agency wants it. Agency A was like, no, we're not giving you those records because like we paid for it. And I'm like, so I called up the clinic place that they sent me to see if they can give me my records, because I'm like, I'm the patient, they could send it to me. So I called the clinic and I was like, hey, I came there and I got a tetanus shot, can you just give me the records? And then agency A put a lock on the account that they weren't able to release it to me because they paid for it. So I had to get another tetanus shot through agency B.
Aww.
I was like, are you serious? I got like 2 tetanus shots, and you know, those things hurt. So I got 2 within like, 5 months. So that was stupid. So that's what I mean by try to keep your records if you can. That way you're not duplicating, if you got a flu shot with agency A or flu shot with wherever, keep that flu shot records for when you go to your next agency that you can provide it with them. Just keep all of your records for your physicals or drug screens. Drug screens are not as important to keep because you have to redo those over every 3 months anyway. But the physicals and stuff like that and your shot and immunization records, keep a copy of all of those, please. Alrighty, so now once you've got your license in place, you got your physical in place, it's time to take all these tests. So before you start an assignment, your facility is going to assign you multiple tests to take. Some of those tests, they may assign to you like as modules online to do before you arrive, so you may have to complete them before a certain date. Make sure to ask your recruiter what that deadline is. I myself have had recruiters who never told me what the deadline was, and I'm just taking my time because sometimes there are a lot of tests. There'll be like 60 tests or so, and I'll just be doing like 5 a day or something, and then the recruiter will be like, oh, it's due tomorrow, and I'm like, what? And then I'll end up having to stay up all night doing it. So ask them what the deadline is. Sometimes they don't even tell you. It's a mess. So make sure to be proactive and ask them, when do these tests need to be due by? Because I really need to know. Sometimes they don't give you all the tests at home. They will wait until you get to the facility and give you what tests you need there. Sometimes they do half and half. So just know what you're getting yourself into. Depending on your department, depends on what test you take. So with me, because I work emergency room, I always have to take a medication test and a telemetry test. Those 2 tests are the most important tests that I have to take, because if I fail the medication test or I fail the telemetry test, they will deny me from working at their facility. I actually had a really bad experience with that. My very, very, very first assignment, I went to a certain hospital in Massachusetts. This was my first assignment. My recruiter didn't really emphasize the super importance of me knowing that telemetry test. So I'm just kind of like, okay, whatever. So I get to the assignment, I sit down, they give me the paper. I didn't even put my bag down yet. They were like, here's this test. And I'm like, what test is this, right? And they're like, it's a cardiac test, rhythm strip. You have to measure this. And I'm like, what the? You know how we are with our rhythm strips. Like, I know my rhythm strips enough to know if you're dying or if you're alive, but I wasn't proficient enough at that time to know if you're in Winky Bach and like just random stuff like that, which, don't judge me, I should know better because my very first, before I did ER, I worked cardiac telemetry, so don't judge me though. Anyway, I ended up getting like a 75 on the test, which I was kind of excited about because, for one who didn't really review this, I haven't really reviewed it in years, and I got a 75, I was like, go Monique, yeah girl. No, you needed at least an 80 to pass. So they were like, sorry, bye, you can't work here. I was like, what? So legit, like, I couldn't work there. I had to find another facility to work at. So I had to pack up my stuff, and then I went like an hour away north. And then they told me I couldn't work there for a whole year. I was like, dang, like my 75 feels like, yep, you're a failure. It's pretty much an F, pretty much. So anyway, so make sure you're prepared for these tests because legit, like, you really cannot fail these tests, certain tests, because they won't let you work for the facility. I never failed a cardiac test again since then. I was like, oh no, that's not gonna happen. And so anyway, we're all good to go. And then the medication test, it's the same way with those. If you fail those, they won't let you start either, depending on your specialty and things like that. So make sure you know which tests are super important for you. Make sure you're studied for them. I'm gonna post a link below of one of the websites that are really good websites to use to study for cardiac telemetry tests. It's really awesome, it's fun, stuff like that. So make sure you're ready for these tests when you start. The rest of the tests are like weird stuff, like how to operate their bed, how to operate their pump, just like random stuff. And then they have slideshows and you can look at the slideshows and stuff like that. So those tests are not a big deal. It's the actual meaningful tests are usually the cardiac and the medication test. So make sure you're ready for those. And to top it off, we will end with number 4. What should you pack or not pack? So in all honesty, you do not need to bring pots and pans and linen and all that random stuff. Ask your recruiter, if they're putting you up in housing and in a hotel or something like that, you don't need to bring all those things. For me personally, every time my agency has put me up somewhere, I didn't need to bring anything. They had all those things there for me. So just verify with your recruiter, ask them, do I need to bring pots in the place that you're putting me? Sometimes it may be a little bit different if they're putting you in an apartment. So just verify those things with them before you go. When I first started travel nursing, I literally moved out of my apartment and I packed my whole car up. My car was filled to the top. I couldn't even see out my rearview mirror. You do not need to do that. Literally, you don't. All you need to bring is like 2 suitcases for about a 3-month assignment, a 13-week traditional assignment, 2 suitcases and a bucket of shoes. For me, I bring 2 suitcases of clothes and about 10 pairs of shoes. That may be a lot for some people, and it may be not enough for other people. That goes back to assessing why do you travel nurse, back like I said in my very first video. Because if you're gonna go out a lot and things like that, you're gonna need more clothes. Also taking into consideration, also taking into consideration that you may buy more clothes while you're out there, and that'll replenish clothes. And then if you're going back home, which we'll talk about this in my next video where we talk about how to smartly travel nurse, because if you're going back home and things like that, you can always swap out clothes. Also, think about which season you're going to that place. Do you need cold clothes? Is the seasons going to change from hot to cold or cold to hot? Well, you need to bring both types of clothes, things like that. You know, cold clothes are a little bit more bulkier, so just think about all those things. But in all honesty, if you have more than 2 suitcases and more than like 10 pairs of shoes, you're going to probably have too much, especially if you buy more stuff. So just take that into consideration. And sometimes you just have to learn for yourself and see what works for you, because that's what happened with me. I started from the top, and now I'm here. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video about how to get ready for your travel nursing assignment. Please stay tuned for my next video where we will go over how to smartly travel nurse. It'll be a good one. Subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss it. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button. See you later guys.